Tae-ho Kim straightened his uniform one last time before the airlock opened. The circular door hissed as it slid aside, revealing the alien delegation waiting on the other side. This was humanity's big moment. First official contact with an advanced species from beyond the stars. "Remember," Captain Lee whispered beside him. "Slow movements, no sudden gestures." Tae-ho nodded. 6 months of training had prepared him for this moment. The 5 humans stepped forward into the large chamber of the Vrex mothership. The aliens stood in a perfect line. Their bodies reminded Tae-ho of giant mantises with hard green-black shells and 4 arms ending in delicate fingers. Their heads were triangular with large compound eyes that reflected the room's light like jewels. "Greetings from Earth and the United Human Colonies," Tae-ho said clearly, making the practiced hand gesture of peace, palms open, facing outward. The tallest Vrex stepped forward. Its mouthparts clicked and whirred before the translator on Tae-ho's wrist converted the sounds. "The Vrex Dominion acknowledges your presence," came the flat voice from the device. "So far, so good." Tae-ho relaxed slightly. The initial scans from Earth telescopes had spotted the massive Vrex ship approaching the solar system 3 months ago. After establishing basic communication, this meeting had been arranged. A chance for peaceful first contact. The human team followed their Vrex guide deeper into the ship. The walls were smooth and curved, with strange glowing patterns that shifted like living things. They entered a large round room with a table in the center. "Please," the Vrex leader gestured. "Sit." The human team took their seats. Tae-ho placed the gift box on the table, a collection of Earth art, music, and literature stored on a special device. "We offer these as symbols of our culture," he said. The Vrex leader picked up the box with one delicate arm. Its compound eyes studied it for a moment before setting it aside without opening it. "Tell us about your military capabilities," the Vrex said suddenly. Tae-ho blinked in surprise. This wasn't in the expected script. "We're here to establish peaceful relations. Perhaps we could discuss cultural exchange first." The Vrex's head tilted at an odd angle. "You misunderstand. This is not a meeting of equals." Something cold slid down Tae-ho's spine. He glanced at Captain Lee, whose hand had moved subtly toward her concealed weapon. "I don't understand," Tae-ho said carefully. The Vrex leader's mouthparts clicked rapidly, almost like laughter. "Your species has only reached basic space travel. The Vrex have ruled this sector for 10,000 years." The room's atmosphere changed instantly. The doors sealed with a hiss, and more Vrex entered from hidden panels in the walls. "What is this?" Captain Lee demanded, standing up. "Assessment," the Vrex leader said simply. "Your world has resources we require. Your species will serve or be removed." Everything happened at once. Captain Lee drew her weapon, but a Vrex soldier was faster. A flash of green light hit her chest, and she crumpled to the floor. The other humans jumped up, but they were surrounded. "Stop!" Tae-ho shouted. "We can negotiate." The Vrex leader approached him, towering over his human frame. "There is nothing to negotiate. Your kind are suited only for labor or study." 2 human security officers tried to fight back. They died instantly under the alien weapons. Dr. Park was grabbed by multiple Vrex arms, struggling as they dragged her toward a side door. Tae-ho dove under the table as energy beams crossed the room. He crawled toward the main door, heart pounding in his chest. The ship's alarms began to wail. "The human shuttle is powering weapons," a Vrex voice called out. In the confusion, Tae-ho slipped through a momentarily unlocked door. He ran down the curved corridor, following the emergency route they'd been shown earlier. Behind him, sounds of fighting echoed. The human shuttle crew was fighting back. He had to reach them. As he ran, one thought burned in his mind. Earth needed to know. This wasn't peaceful contact. This was the beginning of a war. 6 months after the failed first contact, Jae-yum Park stared at the warning lights flashing across her security console. The colony of New Seoul was under attack. Multiple ships entering atmosphere, her assistant Sung-min reported. "They're not responding to hails." Ja-young stood up straight, her face set in a grim line. "Sound the shelter alarm. Get everyone underground." Since Taeho Kim had returned with news of the Vrek's betrayal, Earth and its colonies had been preparing for war. New Seoul, one of humanity's most distant outposts, had always been vulnerable. The loud wail of sirens filled the air. Through the control room windows, Jae-young watched as colonists rushed toward the underground bunkers. Parents carried children. Workers dropped their tools. Everyone knew the drill. "Incoming," Sung-min shouted. The first Vrek ships screamed across the sky, black against the orange sunset. They were small and fast, nothing like the massive mothership Taeho had described. These were attack craft. "Defense systems online," Jae-young said, activating the colony's laser turrets. Beams of light shot upward, catching one of the alien ships. It spiraled down, crashing in the fields outside the colony walls. But there were too many. The ships flew in patterns that confused the automated defenses. Several landed just outside the colony's main gate. "What are they doing?" Sung-min asked, zooming in the cameras. Jae-young watched as the ship's doors opened. What emerged wasn't Vrek soldiers. These creatures walked on 4 legs, with powerful shoulders and massive jaws. Their skin was hairless and gray, with plates of natural armor along their spines. Each one was the size of a small car. "Those aren't Vreks," Jae-young whispered. The creatures moved in perfect formation, spreading out around the colony walls. One raised its head and let out a howl that sent chills down Jae-young's spine. The others joined in, creating a terrible chorus. "War beasts," said a voice from the door. Jae-young turned to see Colonel Hyun, the military officer assigned to New Seoul. "Intel warned us about these. The Vreks used them to do their dirty work." "What are they?" Sung-min asked. "No one knows for sure. Some alien species the Vreks conquered and turned into weapons." The colonel checked his rifle. "They're smart, strong, and hunt in packs." On the screen, the beasts began their attack. They moved with frightening speed, leaping at the colony walls. Their claws left deep scratches in the metal barriers. One found a maintenance hatch and began tearing at it. "Security teams to all entry points," Jae-young ordered into her comm. "Heavy weapons authorized." The colony's defenders rushed to their positions. Gunfire erupted as they engaged the war beasts. The creatures barely seemed to notice the bullets hitting their armored hides. One beast broke through a side entrance. Security footage showed it racing through the streets, sniffing the air, hunting for any humans who hadn't reached the shelters. "Seal all bunker doors," Jae-young ordered. "No one in or out until we contain this." More beasts were breaking through. The Vrek ships hovered overhead, watching but not joining the battle. They were letting their pets do the work. In the command center, Jae-young and her team watched in horror as the creatures methodically searched the colony. But then she noticed something odd. "Look at that one," she said, pointing to a screen. A war beast had entered an abandoned home. Instead of destroying everything, it was sniffing around a child's bedroom. It nudged a stuffed toy with its snout, then picked it up gently in its massive jaws. "That's strange behavior for a war machine," Colonel Hyun admitted. Jae-young zoomed in the camera. The beast was now sitting on the child's bed, the toy still in its mouth, looking around the room with what almost seemed like curiosity. "I think," Jae-young said slowly, "there's more to these creatures than the Vreks want us to know." 3 days after the attack, Jae-young Park broke the rules. She left the safety of the underground bunker alone. The colony of New Seoul lay quiet above. Most buildings still stood, though many showed damage from the war beast's attack. The streets were empty of humans. Everyone remained sheltered below ground. Jae-young checked her weapon and the small camera attached to her jacket. What she was doing was dangerous, but she had to know more about the strange behavior she had seen. "Recording started," she whispered. Her observations would be valuable even if she didn't make it back. Jia-young moved quietly through the streets, staying close to walls and under overhangs. Vrex ships still patrolled overhead, but less often now. They seemed to think they had won. A low growl made her freeze. 20 meters ahead, a war beast turned a corner. Its massive body moved with surprising grace for something so large. Jia-young ducked behind a fallen sign, her heart racing. The beast hadn't seen her. It was focused on something else. A ball. A child's rubber ball that had been left in the street. The creature nudged it with its snout, then jumped back when the ball rolled away. Jia-young watched in amazement as the beast pounced on the ball like a playful dog. It pushed the ball with its paw, chased it, then repeated the action. "They're not just killing machines," she whispered to her camera. She followed the beast at a safe distance. It wandered into the colony's small park and stopped at the pond. It drank water, then sat watching the ripples with what looked like fascination. A sound from behind made Jia-young turn quickly. She raised her gun. "Don't shoot," said a man's voice. "I'm human." A tall man in a Earth Defense Force uniform stepped out from behind a damaged wall. His patch identified him as a Science Division officer. "Dr. Dahyun Lee," he said quietly. "You must be Security Chief Park. I saw you leave the bunker." "You shouldn't be up here either," Jia-young said, lowering her weapon. "It's not safe." Dahyun pointed to the war beast by the pond. "That's exactly why I'm here. To study them." "You knew about their behavior." He nodded. "I have orders from Earth Command. After the first attacks on other colonies, we noticed unusual patterns. These creatures don't behave like mindless weapons should." The war beast at the pond suddenly stood alert, ears forward. It had heard something. Without warning, it bounded away, disappearing between buildings. "We should move," Dahyun said, checking a small device in his hand. "There's a safe observation post I've set up in the old school building." Once inside the abandoned school, Dahyun showed Jia-young his equipment. Screens displayed views from hidden cameras placed around the colony. Several showed war beasts in different locations. "What have you learned?" Jia-young asked. "They're not natural to the Vrex," Dahyun explained. "We believe the Vrex conquered these creatures' home world, then modified them as weapons. But something remarkable is happening." He pointed to one screen. A war beast was lying on a human bed, its huge body barely fitting on the mattress. "They're curious about us," Jia-young said. "I saw one playing with a toy." Dahyun nodded. "More than that. Look at these brain scans." He showed her a tablet with colorful images. "Their brains have similar structures to Earth canines, but much more complex. They're intelligent, possibly even sentient." "So the Vrex are using another intelligent species as slaves," Jia-young said, anger in her voice. "Yes, but there's something else." Dahyun looked at her with excitement in his eyes. "If they're similar to our canines, they might be capable of something the Vrex never expected." "What's that?" "Domestication," he said. "Earth humans spent thousands of years turning wolves into dogs. What if we could do something similar with these war beasts?" Jia-young stared at the screens showing the powerful creatures exploring the empty human colony. "You want to turn the Vrex's weapons against them," she said, understanding dawning. "You want to make these war beasts our allies." "Hold still," Jia-young said softly, just a little closer. The war beast watched her from 10 meters away, its large eyes fixed on the meat in her gloved hand. This was their third meeting. Each time, the creature had come closer. Jia-young and Dahyun had named this one Mino. It was smaller than the others, with a lighter gray skin and a distinctive scar across its snout. For the past week, they had been leaving food at the same spot near the school building. Mino had been the first to find it. "It's working," Dahyun whispered from his position behind a broken wall. "Just like the wolves that approached human camps thousands of years ago." Jia-young placed the meat on the ground and stepped back slowly. Mino crept forward, muscles tense. With surprising speed, the beast grabbed the meat and retreated several meters to eat it. "Good," Jai Young said. That's good, Mino. Inside their makeshift lab, Da Hyun reviewed the data on his screens. Jai Young joined him after ensuring all doors were secured. Look at this, he said excitedly. The genetic analysis is complete. The screen showed complex patterns of DNA. Jai Young wasn't a scientist, but even she could see the highlighted similarities between the war beast DNA and the canine samples. They share 43% genetic markers with Earth wolves, Da Hyun explained. That's impossible by random chance. Either they evolved in remarkably similar conditions, or what? Jai Young asked. Or they were taken from Earth long ago, removed, modified, and weaponized. Jai Young stared at the screen. You think these creatures came from Earth originally? It's just a theory, but it would explain their behavior. Their instincts might be remembering something their ancestors knew, how to interact with humans. A loud alarm from one of the monitors interrupted them. Motion sensors at the colony's edge had detected movement. Vrex ships, Jai Young said, checking the camera feeds. 3 of them. And they're dropping more war beasts. They'd watched as a dozen new beasts were released. The creatures spread out, beginning to explore the colony like the first group had done. But these moved with more purpose, more aggression. New programming, Da Hyun guessed. The Vrex must be wondering why their first attack didn't finish us off. Jai Young's communicator buzzed. It was Colonel Hyun from the bunker. Park, we have movement on the surface. Are you seeing this? Yes, sir. New war beasts. But we have a situation you should know about. She explained their observations and Da Hyun's theory. There was a long silence before the colonel responded. You're telling me we can tame these things? Not tame, Da Hyun said, taking the communicator. Form a mutual relationship, like early humans did with wolves. These creatures are intelligent and social. They respond to food rewards already. As if to prove his point, the door to their lab scratched softly. Jai Young checked the outside camera. Mino was there, sniffing around where they usually left food. We have a visitor, she said. Against all safety protocols, Jai Young opened the door a crack. Mino backed up, alert but not aggressive. She tossed a piece of meat onto the ground. The beast ate it quickly. Try a command, Da Hyun suggested. Something simple. Sit, Jai Young said clearly. Mino tilted its head, obviously not understanding. She tried again, this time making the hand signal many dog owners use. To their amazement, Mino lowered its hindquarters to the ground. It worked. Da Hyun whispered in shock. The moment was broken by a howl from the distance. The new war beasts were calling. Mino turned its head toward the sound but didn't move. It's choosing to stay with us, Jai Young realized. On the monitors, they could see the new war beasts approaching the human food storage building. But something strange was happening. Several of the original war beasts were there too, and they weren't joining the attack. Instead, they seemed to be blocking the way. Look, Da Hyun said, pointing at the screen. They're protecting our food supplies. Jai Young watched in amazement. The Vrex have no idea what they've done. They thought they were releasing killing machines, but what they really gave us was a new ally. Earth Command has approved the mission, Colonel Hyun announced to the small group gathered in the bunker's meeting room. They're calling it Operation Taming. Jai Young and Da Hyun exchanged excited glances. For 2 weeks, they had sent reports about Mino and the other war beasts' behavior. Now finally, the military leadership was taking their theory seriously. A special forces team will arrive tomorrow, the colonel continued. They've been training with animal behavior specialists since they received your first reports. The bunker door opened, and a tall, strong-looking man entered. His uniform identified him as a captain in Earth's elite combat unit, Captain Han Sol Kang. He introduced himself. My team, and I came early. Jai Young was surprised. You're already here? How? Han Sol's face remained serious. We dropped in last night while the Vrex ships were on the far side of the colony. 20 of my people are already set up in buildings near your observation post. Da-hyun looked impressed. You took a big risk. This whole mission is a risk, Han-Sol replied. But if your theory is correct, it could change the war. Now show me these beasts. Above ground, Jae-young led Han-Sol to their observation post. Mino was waiting outside, now comfortable enough to sleep near the building. 5 other war beasts had also begun staying nearby. Han-Sol watched them through binoculars. They're bigger than I expected. And smarter, Jae-young added. Watch this. She stepped out into the open and called, Mino, come. The war beast lifted its massive head, then rose and trotted toward her. It stopped 2 meters away, waiting. Good boy, Jae-young said, tossing a piece of meat. Mino caught it easily. Han-Sol shook his head in amazement. And it's only been 3 weeks. They learn incredibly fast. Da-hyun explained. Faster than any Earth animal. The Vreks enhanced their intelligence to make better weapons, but they didn't count on them being able to choose their own side. My team has brought training equipment and food supplies, Han-Sol said. We'll start working with the ones you've already made contact with, then expand to the others. Over the next few days, the Special Forces team began Operation Taming in earnest. They set up feeding stations around the colony's perimeter. Each station had food, water, and simple toys, balls, ropes, and sturdy objects the war beasts could chew on. Jae-young watched from a rooftop as Han-Sol worked with a large war beast his team had named Toro. The soldier used hand signals to direct the creature. When Toro followed correctly, Han-Sol rewarded it with food and pets on its armored head. They craved the interaction almost more than the food, Da-hyun noted, joining her on the roof. It's as if they were starved for affection under Vrek's control. How many have responded to training? Jae-young asked. 17 so far, almost half of the original group. A warning beep from Jae-young's tablet interrupted them. The motion sensors at the edge of the colony had detected movement. The screen showed 3 Vrek ships landing. They're coming to check on their war beasts, Jae-young said grimly. For the first time, humans would see the Vreks in person. One tall insectoid figure emerged from each ship. They moved on 2 legs, their 4 arms carrying weapons and equipment. The nearest Vreks approached a group of war beasts. It made clicking sounds, and the beasts immediately stood at attention, except for Mino, who had been playing with a ball nearby. The Vreks noticed the disobedient beast. It raised a strange device and pointed it at Mino. The war beast yelped in pain as some kind of energy hit it. They control them with pain, Jae-young whispered in horror. But something unexpected happened next. As the Vreks continued to punish Mino, Toro, and 2 other trained beasts turned toward the alien. Their postures changed, backs arching, teeth baring. Han-Sol's voice came through Jae-young's communicator. Are you seeing this? They're protecting each other. The pack instinct, Da-hyun said excitedly. It's overriding the Vrek's control. The Vreks seemed confused by the behavior. It raised its pain device again, and Toro attacked. The Vreks never saw it coming. Toro's massive body hit the insectoid alien with such force that both crashed to the ground. The Vreks' chitinous armor cracked under the war beast's powerful jaws. Its weapon flew from its hands. Record everything, Da-hyun said urgently to Jae-young. This is proof the concept works. Through her tablet, Jae-young captured the historic moment, a war beast turning on its Vreks master. The other 2 Vreks raised their weapons, aiming at Toro. But before they could fire, 5 more war beasts charged them from different directions. They're protecting each other, Han-Sol said through the comm. Just like a wolf pack. One Vreks managed to fire its weapon, hitting a war beast in the shoulder. The creature yelped but kept attacking. Blood-like green fluid sprayed from the Vreks' arm as powerful jaws closed around it. The 3rd Vreks turned and ran for its ship, clicking loudly, perhaps calling for help. It didn't make it. Mino, despite being smaller than the others, leaped onto the Vrex's back, bringing it down just meters from the ship's ramp. In less than 2 minutes, it was over. All 3 Vrex lay dead on the ground. The war beasts gathered around their fallen comrade, nudging it with their snouts. The injured beast struggled to its feet, wounded but alive. "They won," Jai Young whispered. "They actually won." Han Sol emerged from his hiding place, approaching the war beasts cautiously. The creatures turned to face him, still alert and agitated from the fight. For a tense moment, Jai Young feared they might attack the human next. Instead, Toro stepped forward and lowered its massive head. Han Sol reached out slowly and placed his hand on the creature's armored skull, a gesture of trust. The other beasts relaxed, some returning to the feeding stations as if nothing unusual had happened. In the command center below ground, Colonel Hyun reviewed the footage with Earth Command officers on a secure video link. "This changes everything," General Kim said from Earth headquarters. "If we can turn the Vrex's weapons against them on a larger scale, we might have a chance in this war." "We need to move quickly," the colonel said. "Once the Vrex realize their war beasts have rebelled, they'll take measures to prevent it happening elsewhere." Jai Young stood next to Da Hyun, watching the generals discuss strategy. She leaned close to whisper, "We need something to disrupt the Vrex control systems. Something that affects only them, not the war beasts." Da Hyun nodded thoughtfully. "I've been studying the Vrex communication devices we recovered from the bodies. They use a specific sound frequency to control the beasts, one that causes pain. But I think we can create a counter-frequency. A sound that hurts Vrex, but not war beasts." "Exactly. Their hearing ranges are different. What's painful to one might even be pleasant to the other." In his lab, Da Hyun worked through the night. By morning, he had created a small device that emitted a high-pitched sound. When he tested it, the war beasts showed no reaction, but a small piece of Vrex technology they had recovered sparked and shut down. "It works," he said triumphantly. "Now we need to build more. Many more." Above ground, Han Sol's team continued training the war beasts. They now had 27 creatures responding to basic commands. The beasts patrolled the colony's perimeter, alert for any Vrex return. Jai Young worked with Mino, teaching it more complex tasks. The creature could now find specific objects on command, and even retrieve them. "They understand us better than the Vrex ever understood them," she told Han Sol. The captain nodded. The Vrex saw only weapons. They never realized what they really had, intelligent beings capable of choice. Their conversation was interrupted by an alarm. The long-range sensors were detecting multiple large ships approaching. "Vrex reinforcements," Han Sol said grimly. "A lot of them." Jai Young looked at the war beasts gathering nearby, as if sensing the humans' concern. "They know something's coming too." "Then we'll be ready," Han Sol replied. "Us and our new allies." The first battle had been won, but the real war was just beginning. "This is Tae-ho Kim, military governor of New Seoul," the man announced as he stepped off the transport ship. "Earth Command sent me to oversee the counter-offensive." Jai Young, Han Sol, and Da Hyun stood together, watching as Tae-ho inspected the troops lined up on the landing field. Behind them stood 30 war beasts, all trained and ready for battle. "So you're the diplomat who survived first contact," Jai Young said, extending her hand. "Your warning saved many lives." Tae-ho's expression remained stern. "Not enough lives. The Vrex have attacked 12 colonies so far." He looked past her to the line of war beasts. "I'm told you've turned their weapons against them." "They're not just weapons," Da Hyun corrected. "They're intelligent beings who can choose allies." Tae-ho approached the nearest war beast, Mino. The creature watched him cautiously. "I've read your reports," Tae-ho said. "But I need to see proof myself before I commit our forces to this unusual strategy." Han Sol stepped forward. "Mino, greet." The war beast immediately approached Tae-ho and lowered its head in the greeting posture they had taught it. Tae-ho didn't move. Impressive, but party tricks won't win a war. It's not a trick, Jai Young insisted. Show him the combat exercise. Han Sol. The captain nodded and led them to a training area set up on the colony's edge. 6 war beasts stood in formation, each paired with a human soldier. Begin exercise, Han Sol ordered. The pairs moved in perfect coordination, advancing through obstacles. When target drones appeared, the war beasts attacked the ones marked with Rex symbols while avoiding those with human markings. The soldiers provided covering fire, and the beasts protected their human partners from surprise attacks. Even Tae-ho looked impressed. How many are combat ready? 35, Han Sol replied. With more learning every day. The original war beasts are teaching the newer arrivals, and we've produced 200 sonic disruptors, Dahyun added, holding up one of his devices. They interfere with Rex control systems and cause them pain, but leave humans and war beasts unaffected. Tae-ho was silent for a moment. Earth Command has authorized a counteroffensive. The Vrex mothership that attacked my diplomatic mission is approaching this system. It carries thousands of war beasts. If your theory is correct, we could turn their entire army against them, Jai Young finished. That night, in the war room beneath the colony, Tae-ho outlined the battle plan. 3 Earth battleships will engage the Vrex mothership here, he said, pointing to a holographic map. Meanwhile, our ground forces, with war beast support, will defend the colony. But our real objective is this. He highlighted a section of the Vrex ship, their beast control center. A strike team to shut down their control systems and free the war beasts. Han Sol nodded. Who's going in? You are, Captain, along with Chief Park and Dr. Lee. And, Tae-ho paused, 4 of your most trusted war beasts. Jai Young exchanged surprised looks with her colleagues. You're letting us bring war beasts onto a Vrex ship. Fight fire with fire, Tae-ho said grimly. Or in this case, beasts with beasts. The attack began at dawn. The sky above New Seoul filled with flashes as Earth ships engaged the Vrex fleet. On the ground, Vrex landing craft dropped new war beasts, hundreds of them. But something unexpected happened. As the newly arrived beasts charged toward the human defenses, they met the trained war beasts. Instead of fighting, many stopped, confused by the scents and sounds of their own kind acting like allies to humans. It's working, Dahyun shouted over the comm. The pack instinct is overriding their programming. Nearly half of the attacking beasts hesitated, then began following the trained ones. The Vrex commanders, watching from their ships, increased the pain signals to their beasts. Many creatures howled in agony, but still refused to attack. Tae-ho, who had doubted the plan, watched in amazement. They're choosing us over their masters. Jai Young prepared her gear for the strike mission. Mino stood beside her, now wearing a special armor vest designed for war beast protection. Ready? Han Sol asked, checking his weapons. Ready, Jai Young confirmed, patting Mino's armored head. Let's go free the rest of them. This is Tae-ho Kim, military governor of New Seoul, the man announced as he stepped off the transport ship. Earth Command sent me to oversee the counteroffensive. Jai Young, Han Sol, and Dahyun stood together, watching as Tae-ho inspected the troops lined up on the landing field. Behind them stood 30 war beasts, all trained and ready for battle. So you're the diplomat who survived first contact, Jai Young said, extending her hand. Your warning saved many lives. Tae-ho's expression remained stern. Not enough lives. The Vrex have attacked 12 colonies so far. He looked past her to the line of war beasts. I'm told you've turned their weapons against them. They're not just weapons, Dahyun corrected. They're intelligent beings who can choose allies. Tae-ho approached the nearest war beast, Mino. The creature watched him cautiously. I've read your reports, Tae-ho said, but I need to see proof myself before I commit our forces to this unusual strategy. Han Sol stepped forward. Mino, greet. The war beast immediately approached Taiho and lowered its head in the greeting posture they had taught it. Taiho didn't move. Impressive, but party tricks won't win a war. It's not a trick, Jia Young insisted. Show him the combat exercise. Hansol. The captain nodded and led them to a training area set up on the colony's edge. 6 war beasts stood in formation, each paired with a human soldier. Begin exercise, Hansol ordered. The pairs moved in perfect coordination, advancing through obstacles. When target drones appeared, the war beasts attacked the ones marked with Rex symbols while avoiding those with human markings. The soldiers provided covering fire, and the beasts protected their human partners from surprise attacks. Even Taiho looked impressed. How many are combat ready? 35, Hansol replied, with more learning every day. The original war beasts are teaching the newer arrivals, and we've produced 200 sonic disruptors, Dahyun added, holding up one of his devices. They interfere with Vrex control systems and cause them pain, but leave humans and war beasts unaffected. Taiho was silent for a moment. Earth Command has authorized a counteroffensive. The Vrex mothership that attacked my diplomatic mission is approaching this system. It carries thousands of war beasts. If your theory is correct, we could turn their entire army against them, Jia Young finished. That night, in the war room beneath the colony, Taiho outlined the battle plan. 3 Earth battleships will engage the Vrex mothership here, he said, pointing to a holographic map. Meanwhile, our ground forces, with war beast support, will defend the colony. But our real objective is this. He highlighted a section of the Vrex ship. Their beast control center. A strike team to shut down their control systems and free the war beasts. Hansol nodded. Who's going in? You are, Captain, along with Chief Park and Dr. Lee. And Taiho paused. 4 of your most trusted war beasts. Jia Young exchanged surprised looks with her colleagues. You're letting us bring war beasts onto a Vrex ship. Fight fire with fire, Taiho said grimly. Or in this case, beasts with beasts. The attack began at dawn. The sky above New Seoul filled with flashes as Earth ships engaged the Vrex fleet. On the ground, Vrex landing craft dropped new war beasts, hundreds of them. But something unexpected happened. As the newly arrived beasts charged toward the human defenses, they met the trained war beasts. Instead of fighting, many stopped, confused by the scents and sounds of their own kind acting like allies to humans. It's working, Dahyun shouted over the comm. The pack instinct is overriding their programming. Nearly half of the attacking beasts hesitated, then began following the trained ones. The Vrex commanders, watching from their ships, increased the pain signals to their beasts. Many creatures howled in agony, but still refused to attack. Taiho, who had doubted the plan, watched in amazement. They're choosing us over their masters. Jia Young prepared her gear for the strike mission. Mino stood beside her, now wearing a special armor vest designed for war beast protection. Ready? Hansol asked, checking his weapons. Ready, Jia Young confirmed, patting Mino's armored head. Let's go free the rest of them. Jia Young and Mino raced through the Vrex mothership's corridors. Twice they encountered Vrex guards, but Mino moved with incredible speed, taking them down before they could call for help. The vault should be 1 level down, Jia Young said, checking the ship's map on her tablet. They found a spiral ramp leading downward. At the bottom, a massive door blocked their path. The control panel needed a Vrex hand to open it. We need a Vrex, Jia Young muttered. Then she noticed Mino sniffing at the floor, following some scent to an air vent in the wall. The beast scratched at it, whining softly. Jia Young removed the vent cover. It was large enough for Mino to squeeze through. You sense something in there. Go on. Then, Mino disappeared into the vent. Minutes later, Jia Young heard movement from the other side of the vault door. It slid open, and Mino stood there, tail wagging. Behind him lay an unconscious Vrex guard. Good boy, Jai Young said, patting Mino's head. Very clever. The vault was filled with strange objects from dozens of worlds. Jai Young searched quickly, looking for anything that might belong to the Canir civilization. In the back corner, she found a display case containing a glowing blue crystal sphere. The label, which her translator could partly read, identified it as the Heart of Canir, memory crystal from the High Temple. As soon as Mino saw the sphere, he let out a low, mournful howl. Other war beasts throughout the ship answered, as if the sight of the artifact had awakened something deep within them. This is it, Jai Young whispered. She carefully took the sphere and contacted Hansol. We found what we need. Back in the control center, Da Hyun worked quickly to connect the memory crystal to the Vrex broadcast system. The crystal contains data, memories, history, knowledge of the Canir, he explained. If we broadcast this along with the brain patterns we recorded from our war beasts, it should trigger recognition in all Canir across Vrex space. Do it, Hansol ordered. Da Hyun activated the system. The crystal glowed brighter as its data flowed into the Vrex network. On screens around them, they could see the signal being transmitted to all Vrex ships and worlds. It's working, Da Hyun exclaimed. Look! On the monitors showing the battle outside, they could see war beasts on Vrex ships suddenly stopping, their heads lifting as if listening to a distant call. Then, as one, they turned on their Vrex masters. The captive Vrex commander clicked in anger. You've doomed us all. You doomed yourselves when you enslaved another intelligent species, Taeho replied, having joined them in the control center. Within hours, reports came in from across Vrex space. On every ship, every colony, every conquered world, the Canir were rising up against their masters. The Vrex military, which had relied heavily on war beasts, was collapsing. In the control center, Mino approached the memory crystal. When he touched it with his snout, a holographic image appeared above it. Tall, elegant beings that walked on two legs, but had the same eyes as the war beasts. The original Canir, Da Hyun breathed, before the Vrex modified them. A week later, on the rebuilt landing field of New Seoul, Taeho Kim stood before a gathering of humans and Canir. The war was not over, but the Vrex had been pushed back to their homeworld. Today, we formalize our alliance with the Canir people, Taeho announced. Together, we will ensure the Vrex never threaten another species again. Beside him stood Jai Young, Hansol, and Da Hyun. At their feet sat Mino, now wearing a special collar that helped translate his thoughts into simple words through a speaker. Canir, remember, came Mino's halting voice. Humans, health, freedom. Canir and humans, friends now. Jai Young knelt beside her friend. We helped each other. That's what allies do. Later, as the sun set over New Seoul, Jai Young watched children playing in the colony's new park. Among them ran several young Canir, their playful barks mixing with human laughter. The Vrex thought they were creating perfect weapons, Taeho said, joining her. Instead, they gave us perfect friends. Jai Young smiled. They released their war beasts on human settlements. Turns out we conditioned worse, Taeho finished. For them, at least. In the sky above, human and Canir ships prepared for their next mission, returning to the ancestral Canir homeworld to begin rebuilding what the Vrex had destroyed. A new chapter was beginning for both species.